writings that some were saying was homophobic. You didn't answer about the flyer specifically. You gave us an answer about McGinty's proposed changes to the sex ed curriculum. You tried to talk to the candidate about it yesterday. He was whisked out the back door. Can you talk about that flyer and whether or not you still support it?
You know, I think the only person who has explaining to do is Dalton McGinty, who wants to bring in a sex ed curriculum that would start in grade 1 when kids are 6 years old. And then on top of that, he wants to keep these things hidden from moms and dads. I think that's wrong. You know, I'm proud of my little girl Miller. She just started junior kindergarten this year. So I'm one of those impacted dads. If they're going to be talking about sexual education, sexual identity as early as grade 1 when the kids are 6, why is Dalton McGinty telling teachers not to inform the parents? Why is he trying to keep parents in the dark? I think that's wrong. Parents should be consulted on these types of changes in the curriculum, not surprised.
So you stand by that?
Of course, and I wonder if Dalton McGinty's going to stand by his plan to actually bring in these changes as early as 6-year-olds. Kids should be learning their ABCs, they should be learning how to tie their shoes. And then to make matters worse, you said you have a son in grade 3. And nor would he even consult with parents. Basically, they've told teachers to keep parents like Lily in the dark, to keep it hidden. That's wrong. And another reason why we need change here in Ontario, Dalton McGinty has just lost touch with average parents across this province.
Is that really an accurate portrayal of what their curriculum was proposed to do? Because it doesn't say to not inform parents at all.
Well, go to the TD, the Toronto District School Board website, and people can see for themselves. The problem is, just like he was planning to do with the sex ed curriculum, Dalton McGinty wants to bring this in, and now they're telling teachers not to inform parents, moms and dads, about these very sensitive topics that they're proposing to teach as early as grade 1, 6-year-olds. I think it's wrong, and I think parents should be consulted, not kept in the dark.
A group of women today will tell the press that they are worried about their position about abortion. First, can you explain if you're elected, are you going to restrain or restrict the access of abortion to the women? And second, why do you think they are doing this today?
Yeah. Well, the answer is no. As Premier, I'm not reopening this issue. I consider the matter settled.
So no change, no resolution, no funding, or
nope. It's a settled matter.
Tim, I got a couple things. Yeah, I said I got a couple of things. We're talking in our paper today. There's a poll that says basically you're in a dead heat with the Liberals, 45 seats. With another couple hours, very few hours left to the election, how are you? Do you think that's going to stick, and do you think you have the momentum to pull ahead?
I'm feeling great, and families are getting behind the Ontario PCs because we're the only party that can actually bring change to Ontario. And I'm going to be working as hard as I can these last 2 days to bring our message of positive change, relief for families, bringing good jobs back to the province, and reining in runaway spending. And I think the choice is very clear in this campaign. I will not increase taxes, and I'll bring more jobs to the province. Dalton McGinty will increase your taxes. And I think families have every right to be concerned about the Liberals being propped up by the NDP. We know where that's going to end up. Higher taxes, more big government spending, and as a result, fewer good jobs in the province. Dalton McGinty has a chance today to actually stand up, to sign the exact same pledge that I just signed, to say that under no circumstances will he agree to an NDP tax hike demand. I bet Dalton McGinty won't sign that because he plans to use the NDP as an excuse to say they forced his hand and then bring in another tax increase on families.
In Jarvis, you raised the issue of Caledonia. I hadn't heard that before, you may have. And you said that there would be one law for all. What do you mean by that?
I just think this is a value that we have as Ontarians, that everybody is treated equally under the law. I think that's an important way to go forward. It certainly has been, I think, tragic circumstances that have torn a community apart. And now we're, 6 years into this situation. Clearly another reason why we need change in Ontario.
So you're asking the Liberals to sign this pledge today saying that they won't raise taxes under any circumstances, even if that includes a coalition with the NDP. Are you asking this because you see this as a real possibility?
Oh yeah, for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if Dalton McGuinty's team is currently in negotiations with the NDP. Because Dalton McGuinty is looking for any excuse in the book to raise taxes, and he'll say, well, the NDP made me do it. When it comes to increasing your taxes, Dalton McGuinty is the king of excuses. He said the HST is not a tax increase, it's a restructure. He blamed the recession. Dalton McGuinty will increase your taxes, and he'll say the NDP forced his hand. Here's the reality. With Dalton McGuinty's Liberals, the NDP, that's tax hike 1 and tax hike 2. I worry about the two of them getting together and what it means for families.
But I'm asking, are you conceding that that's the outcome that you see happening on October 6th?
Well, I plan to win and to bring change to this province. And only one party can bring change to Ontario. The NDP, they're just more of the same of the Liberals. They're going to increase taxes. They're going to ramp up government spending, and that means fewer good jobs for people in Ontario. The concern I have is what kind of deal is Dalton McGuinty going to cook up? What kind of deal is he talking about today? Because Dalton McGuinty is the king of excuses when it comes to tax hikes. I know they'll increase taxes, he's given the chance, and to blame the NDP.
You've been accused of scare tactics to this point. Is this yet another way of trying to drum up lots?
This is reality. I mean, Dalton McGuinty is somebody who will look in the camera and he'll say, I won't increase your taxes. But then once he's elected, he breaks that promise over and over again. He brought in the health tax and he blamed the deficit. He brought in the HST and the sneaky eco-taxes. He blamed the recession. In fact, he said the HST wasn't even a tax increase. He called it a restructuring. Nobody believes that. We know what's going to happen if Dalton McGuinty gets the chance. The only job he cares about is his own. He will agree to a tax hike to get the NDP's support, and he'll blame them, saying they forced his hand. If that's not true, if I'm wrong, then Dalton McGuinty should sign this pledge today, just like I did, no tax increase.
There's a report coming out later today, apparently, that's calling for better transit funding for Toronto. How would your party, how would you help support transit, improve transit in Toronto?
Well, we'll look forward to the report that you mentioned. Obviously, I've not had a chance to look at it. But I think, when it comes to transit, whether in Toronto or here in Ottawa, you need to have the right balance. And we do need to end this war on the car. So here's what we'll do. We set aside $35 billion in our plan for infrastructure to have the right balance between transit and roads and bridges. So here's a couple of differences. First, I'll share the gas tax with every municipality across the province. Under Dalton McGuinty, only 90 get it, those are transit systems. But we all pay the same gas tax. I'll share it with every municipality because in many parts of Ontario, roads and bridges, they are public transit. The second difference, I'm actually going to let municipal leaders decide what their priorities are. Instead of top-down, behind-closed-doors decisions at Queen's Park on what projects are priority for Ottawa, for Toronto, for London or Niagara, I'll let local municipal leaders decide in their communities. So if it's a road, if it's a bridge, if it's a local highway, if it's transit or subway, I'll let them decide. I'll support local decisions.
You didn't answer the question about Caledonia at all. You didn't answer the question. The question was, what does one law for all mean? Does that mean you will go in and arrest Native protesters for assault and trespassing?
Well, the police make these decisions, not politicians. The bottom line, I just think that as Ontarians, as Canadians, we all believe that we're equal under the law in the province, that we should all be treated the same. That's what has made our country great. It has made it the envy of the world. And I think that's an important value that governments should reflect, because it reflects the values of Ontario families.
Two more questions. Two more. Is that the provincial government has stood in the way of the OPP from moving in on those protesters. Would you do that?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
The complaint from the locals has been that the provincial government has stood in the way of the OPP moving in and taking up those protests.
I expect the police to do their job. It's not the job of government to direct the police. They'll do their job. I just believe when I'm talking to families here around the table in Ottawa South, other parts of the province, we should all treat everybody equally under the law in the province of Ontario. Will you agree with that? And you know what? That's an important point. And also, I just don't believe we can afford 4 more years of Dalton McGuinty. He brought up one example. We brought up tax examples here today. We brought up broken examples in transit. And clearly, We all know that if Dalton McGuinty has a government that's propped up by the NDP, a Liberal NDP coalition, that's going to end badly for families, for small businesses like here at Mooney's. One thing is clear, Dalton McGuinty will use the NDP as an excuse to increase your taxes. We can't afford it. Only one party, the Ontario PC Party, will give average families relief, will help small businesses create jobs, and will make sure Ontario is the best place in all of Canada to get a good job.
Tim, Andrea is already talking about getting into the Premier's office. Do you think she has a hope in how becoming Premier of this province?
You know, families will decide who they want to be the next Premier. But what I'm hearing clearly, whether I'm down in Windsor, Ottawa, Niagara, Toronto, people want change. They don't want 4 more years of Dalton McGuinty. So you can vote for change with the Ontario PCs, you can vote for more of the same with the Liberals, or even more of the same with the NDP. But what I think families should be concerned about is the Liberals and the NDP getting together. We saw in Nova Scotia when the NDP got in, they increased the HST by 2 points, despite promising not to. The NDP have a 50-year history of calling for higher and higher taxes. So what deal is Dalton McGuinty going to cut? What will he do? Because we know the only job he cares about is his own job. Dalton McGuinty should sign his pledge today to say he won't agree to an NDP tax hike. No tax hikes under a PC government, under no circumstances do we believe higher taxes are the way to go. Dalton McGuinty, he'll use any excuse, including blaming the NDP, to hike your taxes. We can't afford them.
Thanks very much, folks. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. God obviously got a very successful